Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of our conversation right here, of course, in the Taproot Studios. My name is Liki, back again at Avocare Consultants Limited. We are here to dig down a little more about some of the best farming practices that we need to have as citizens of this country. My name is Liki again, and of course, my usual suspect, one and only Ibra, who happens to be an expert in sharing some of the skills and knowledge of what he has concerning good farming practices, basically about Hass Avocado.
Good afternoon, Mr. Liki. I'm doing very well. My name is Ibrahim Kirwa from Avocare Consultants Limited, and we are here today to discuss about weed management on Hass Avocado.
Okay. Now, if you're watching, please make sure you subscribe to our channels at Avocare, and of course, share the link with your farmers. Friends who are also doing the same business, please, and like us on all the platforms that we have. So, what brings me here today is basically to discuss about weed control and management, and concerning Hass Avocado. So, real quick, Mr. Ibra, weed control and management. What do we have to understand about that?
First of all, in a very simple definition of weeds, weeds are the crops or the plants which are growing on an area which is really not wanted or either required. That one we can define it as a weed, and it can be anything. Given a scenario whereby we are only practicing monoculture of avocado, anything else which grows besides it, it's being considered as a weed. Given that it's beans or whatever, these other things is being considered as weeds. But the biggest thing which we really need to put into consideration, first of all, is to know the categories of weeds. What are these categories of weeds? Weeds are categorized into three. We have annual weeds. These are weeds whereby they exist in orchards for a period of one season.
Okay.
Those are annual weeds. And then we have biannual weeds. These are weeds which are cutting across for 2 seasons. It's starting from the germination. It takes only 2 seasons to emerge and become and start pouring seeds. And then we have the third category. It's called perennial weeds. These are weeds which will be in existence in the farm for the next 2 years. So those are the 3 different categories of weeds. Now, since we have discussed about the 3 categories of weeds and we have defined what is weed, there are other methods. How should we now, and how do these weeds affect our plants? These weeds affect the plants. First of all, it competes for sunlight. Another thing, it poses a very huge risk of nutrient competition across the orchard. Another thing which we really need to put into consideration is actually it competes for water. Another important thing, it becomes a breeding point for different insects across the orchard. So actually these are the major concerns which we really need to see on how to, and that's why it's posing a very serious thing of us making sure that we do the weed management within the orchard. Now, when we talk about the weed management, since now we have a threat in our orchards, which is the weed, and we have said the effects of the weed in our orchards. So now there are things which we really need to put into consideration on management of the weeds. It's being categorized. There are different modes of management. We have cultural, we have mechanical, we have chemicals. When we talk about the cultural, is whereby we are practicing our old mode, whereby we intercrop with other crops, but we don't intercrop with heavy feeders like maize, cassava, and the rest. These are heavy feeders. We will not be helping the plant, but we will be depriving away the nutrients from the plant when you start practicing heavy feeder crops or either intercropping with heavy feeder crops, which is, we have said, it's cassava, maize, and the other things. Now, at this scenario, we have to intercrop with leguminous plants. These are cover crops, whereby it covers the surface of the ground to make sure that we have, it helps in, minimizing the soil erosion. Number 2, it helps to feed, to fix the nitrogen back to the soil. So actually, by doing the rotational mode, we are practicing the cultural, and we will be suppressing the weeds. Now, doing the cover crops is whereby it will be outcompeting with weeds. These cover crops will be growing very fast to outcompete, and it will be suffocating or either suppressing the growth of the weeds. So that's another good management practice, cultural method. Then we come to another one of mechanical method. The mechanical method is whereby you are using mowing machines, be it a tractor, be it a mower, be it a slasher. These are mechanical mode, whereby you are slashing the weed to prevent them from emerging and start pouring more seeds, or either creating competition with avocado plants. And when I talk about the chemical method, is whereby we understand that it involves usage of chemical herbicides, particularly to kill the emerging weeds. But now it's being categorized into two. By the time you want to spray or either use chemical, it's being categorized into two. There is pre-emergency and there is post-emergency. So pre-emergency is whereby you are spraying your orchard before the emergence of weeds or either growing of weeds. So you'll be killing them before they emerge. Okay. That's pre-emergency. Then we have post-emergency. Post-emergency is where you introduce herbicides to kill the weeds after it has emerged from the ground. Yeah, so that is it, Stanley.
Okay, if you're watching us, please, having issues to do with how you can manage your weed control in your gardens, please make sure you click and subscribe and, of course, get more information. So we're looking at how to control weeds, okay? Before we even get there, what are some of the common weeds that we should be worried about as avocado farmers?
Okay, we have broadleaves, we have grass. So we have the Bermuda grass, which is a threat within the farms. We have these broadleaves. We have there's a lot of categories of weeds which emerges given of different areas where you are planting. Another thing which you really need to put into consideration is, remember, we have two zones here. Okay. We have a coffee zone and we have tea zones. The people in tea zones, they are lucky simply because the trees tend to grow slow. The growth is very slow. And so even actually the weeds in that area of tea zones tends to grow very slow. So if a farmer can take an initiative whereby he can start managing this weed before it goes out of hand, tea zone can be the best area of doing weed management. Given that blackjack, given that we have Bermuda grass, given that we have Tatura, you see there are all these weeds which we really need to put to give it time and make sure we implement on management skills, or either we find a way of fighting them before they spread and become much. But now the biggest pose or either biggest threat comes in on coffee zones. What do I mean by coffee zone? Coffee zones are areas where trees tends to grow very fast. The area is hot. And we know that once an area is very conducive, in terms of growth of weeds, within just a twinkle of an eye like this, the weeds will be so high. Okay. It can multiply very fast. If so, this is an area whereby a farmer needs to be more careful and take his time to make sure that he has really tried to manage the weeds before it goes out of hands. Yeah.
Okay. We understand that weeds have a serious impact on agricultural production.
It causes a big loss of up to 50% drop in yield.
So why are we supposed to be worried about the losses now?
Once we say that it causes a very huge loss, remember they are hideouts for insects. And imagine these insects now, once actually you are just allow your farm to be like that, it means it becomes a breeding ground for infestation of insects. Okay. So, and this insects becomes a threat on this avocado or either your yields. So it does not mean that it really cuts down. Yes, it cuts down your production. How? Number one, it starts affecting the flowers, the insects. If you're starting allowing weeds into your orchard, it becomes a breeding ground for insects, and insects starts affecting the avocado fruits. Okay. Be it flowers, be it leaves, and be it even the fruits itself. We know that we have we have aphids attacking behind the leaves. We have fruit flies. We have FCM. So all these ones lowers the production of the fruit. So first of all, as a mitigation factor, we must make sure that we don't have weeds in our farm. Okay. Another thing comes in whereby we say that it competes with nutrients. Avocado, we know that by the time it reaches a certain stage of flowering and fruit sets, it requires more nutrients. So if the weeds are there, they will be competing with these avocados for that small nutrients which will be available.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also understand that some weeds are very, have like positive effects. I'm just wondering whether Mahas avocado contains some of the weeds that are very positive to its growth.
Yes, actually we have some weeds which really have a positive effect within the orchard. First of all, we have like marigold, which is really so smelly within the orchard. So insect does not like it. The smell which it really emits during the day, it chases away the insects. So these are the beneficial weeds which really help, but still it does not make it it does not mean that it's not competitive with nutrients. Okay. So actually we see it has the positive and the negative. Positive, we say that it has a pungent, it has a smell which chases away the insect. But on the negative part, it competes for the nutrients because it has to grow since it's a plant. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, as an Hass avocado farmer, what could be some of the best practices to get rid of weeds?
We have cultural method, we have mechanical method, we have chemical method. All these ones needs to be put in place. But first of all, go with the cultural method. As I'm advising a farmer what he's supposed to do. Instead of them just rushing to use chemical in suppressing these weeds or either spraying in order to kill the weeds, first of all, try to use the integrated IPM, integrated weed management, whereby you implement all the three. Because remember, there is you try cultural, try mechanical, and try chemical. And then another thing is the field hygiene. Field hygiene really matters. Okay. Field hygiene matters. Why do I say this? Because if you allow the weeds to grow, if you allow your orchard to be that, remember now, there will be build-up of fungal. We say they will be build-up of fungal, which affects the plant. There will be build-up of insect infestation within the orchard. So field hygiene is a mandatory for each and every farm. Okay. Another thing which you really need to put into consideration is monitoring, whereby you do the field inspections. Okay. Whereby somebody, there is a practice which we advise farmers to do. On a daily basis, in the morning, gather your workers, talk to them. After talking to them, we do something we call scouting. Scouting. Yes, so this is a strategy whereby we scout for pests, we scout for termites, we scout for fungal infestation, we scout for insect infestation across the orchard, whereby the workers needs to, within 10 to 15 minutes first, they move across the orchard to see in case if there is any problem within the orchard. So by doing scouting is another good monitoring method whereby it helps a farmer or either create awareness of what is going on his farm. Okay. So it's a strategy which all farmers should do. Then another thing, there is acting early as a measure, whereby after you have seen that weed have started emerging in your orchard, act very fast. Don't say that I'll do it next week. Act there and there, very fast. So that's why we say that it's really important to have a plan for your orchard. Whereby you really know that, okay, fine, I'm supposed to spray maybe insecticide, I'm supposed to spray fungal, or either I'm supposed to slash, or either I'm making sure that the hygiene of the field is really in place. So these are the strategies which a farmer should be able to acquire or either implement. And all in all, we say that we advocate for these farmers to reach out. Okay. To reach out to us, Avocare Consultants Limited. We will help with them to tailor-make, or either we will tailor-made for them the program for their orchard, be it feeding program, be it on weed management, be it spraying the fungal and insect infestation. So we help in doing this. This is our professional and we help to do it at the professional way.
Okay.
And then another important thing which farmers really need to make sure that, there are different methods which you can implement in weed suppressing weeds. First of all, we have said those cover crops, but remember there are even mulching.
Okay.
You mulch the crop around the plant on the canopy of your orchard. Mulch that area to enable to suppress the weeds. Mulch chip hoods and these dry mat and the rest. Use them to mulch, and it will enable to suppress those weeds. There is another method whereby people are advocating and they are using plastic polythenes to mulch around the plant, and this paper mulch, it helps to suppress the weeds. It suppresses the weeds, lowers the moisture, making sure that the moisture is being maintained. Another thing, given that since it's a black paper, since it's a black polythene, the insect cannot be able to hide. It's not an hideout for it. So it's another good method whereby farmers can use it. We can say that use the mulch or either use the paper mulch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in all the 2 cultivation seasons, is it better for us to remove weeds in either rainy season or a dry season, considering the soil fertility and all that?
Okay. Remember, thank you so much. Remember now, Mr. Leakey, there are 2 things which you really need to put into consideration. I can talk on both, either wet season or either dry season. But let me start with the dry season. On a dry season, you cannot, weed the entire farm and leave the soil bare. Remember, the evaporation rate will be so high, given that there is no rain. So the environment will not be conducive for either plants, and even because now you have left the ground open.
Okay.
Yes. So the most good implementation which a farmer can use during dry season, given that he's not practicing different varieties of crop under the same orchard, for those ones who are practicing monoculture, they should be able to slash using the mechanical method, either slashing or either mowing, where you just only mow the grass and use the same grass to mulch the avocado trees. But in putting into consideration, as you mulch with the dry grass, remember now it becomes another problem, whereby another problem emerges which you really need to check every now and then. Termites effect. It becomes a hideout for termites. That's why I said doing the scouting every morning really matters. As they move, they keep on checking, and if they get these termites, they make sure that they find a way of curbing the termites before it starts destroying the trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for any more information about weed control and management, please make sure you reach out to Avocare Consultants Limited. The contacts are actually going to be displayed right on your screen. Give us, a hint. What's your last message about weed control now as we wrap?
Already I've talked about the dry season, the mitigation factors which you really need to put into consideration. We have said, first of all, make sure that don't till the land to leave it bare, because the evaporation rate will be so high and it will become a hot environment for even the trees. Another thing is make sure that you slash, simply because you know that there's some risks like fire hazards, whereby people just burn somewhere and then the fire comes. So you'll be putting your orchard into risk. So you must make sure that you have slashed earlier, cleared the fire lines to make sure that your trees remain safe. Now, for those people on the section of wet season, make sure that you really try as much as you can to make sure that you have really weeded your plant. You weed the plant or either slash your orchard as soon as possible. First of all, to prevent the infestation of insects. Number 2, to prevent these weeds from outcompeting with crops, because by the time it grows and matures, it starts pouring the seeds. It will increase the number of weeds within the orchard. So we really need to make sure that we become more vigilant during dry season, and during wet season to slash. Number 2 is during wet season, make sure that the orchard is clean, the orchard hygiene. Because remember now, the rains are there and there's weeds, there's infestation of, there's a fungal infection within the orchards. Make sure that, remember now, as during the rainy season, it tends to be very wet and moisture becomes so high by then. And now when the moisture becomes so high, there's buildup of fungal infections within the orchard. So there's a lot of mitigation factors which really need to be put into consideration. As I'm wrapping up, is I will urge each and every farmer outside there, don't keep quiet. We really know most of the farmers have problems as far as weed management is concerned.
Okay.
And remember, weeds contribute 45% in loss, 45 to 50% in loss in your orchard. Insects contribute only 30%. Other factors contribute only on 5%.
5%.
So these are the things which we really need to be much keen, given that these are crops which are supposed to go for international market and fetch us good revenue.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Keep on keeping on. We are here with you.
All right. That is Ibra speaking to us, the CEO of Avocare Consultants Limited. All you need to do is subscribe, watch the videos, get into the contacts, okay? They will be displayed on the screen. Reach out to them just in case you want them to come to your farm so they can be able to advise you on weed control. Keep watching. Thank you.